Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our yearly Ramadan Behind Bars webinar. Every year, CCF donates $100 to political prisoners that we support and work with. And this is essentially part of our Ramadan Gift program, where we try to help prisoners afford items, to help them throughout Ramadan. Items like hygiene products, food for suhoor, dates, religious text, and so on. So I realized that sometimes we kind of just jump into this, and a lot of people might be joining us for the first time or have no idea who CCF is or what a political prisoner is. So I thought I would do a little brief background for everyone. So CCF is an organization, Coalition for Civil Freedoms, that was started by and for political prisoners and their impacted family members. We work to fight issues related to the war on terror, so the criminalization of Muslims and Muslim communities due to the war on terror. We essentially work directly with political prisoners who are incarcerated post 9/11 or through, sorry, my bad, because of 9/11 convictions. And essentially what we do is we fill a very critical void in the social justice sphere. Most people are very scared or tend to shy away from any issues related to war on terror, or in our case, Muslims who are convicted of terrorism. So what is a political prisoner? As of today, CCF works with over 240 political prisoners, and sadly that number is growing. These political prisoners are predominantly Muslim. We define political prisoner as a person who is targeted, criminally prosecuted, and imprisoned due to their political views, beliefs, cultural identity, or activism. But more explicitly, we work with prisoners convicted of terrorism, which is a topic that, like I said, most people don't want to get near. We provide a safe and legal means for everyone to financially support these prisoners and provide and advocate for them, as the safety of being a nonprofit and whatnot. So please do donate to support our prisoners. And with us today to talk about the issues is impacted family member Ashley Young. Ashley Young's brother is a former police officer who was convicted on material support charges after a sting operation. Ashley held the position that I currently hold, which is prisoner and family support coordinator. And she's left me very big shoes to fill, which I hope to do justice. We also have with us Ahmed Abdel Sattar, who is a former political prisoner and was recently released. Alhamdulillah, salamtak. And he was a paralegal for Lynn Stewart and served over 20 years on politically motivated charges post 9/11. I'm also excited to introduce to you Executive Director of CARE, Zahra Bilu, who's with us today to provide her insight and valuable support. And we also have Georgetown University professor and CCF board member, Dr. Jonathan A.C. Brown. I also forgot to mention Zahra is also a CCF board member, and so is Ashley. So thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for everyone who's watching today. So I guess, that the point of this webinar and to talk about these issues is to spread awareness, but also to talk about the things that people don't usually normally talk about or don't know much about, and to garner support for the prisoners and to show people that there is a need for your support and so on. So I wanted to start with Ashley. Ashley, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your brother's case and how it's impacted you so far, you and your family.
Sure. One thing I'm happy that we're talking about is really we use this term Muslim political prisoner over and over again. And I think a lot of people who aren't in it, who haven't been directly impacted by it, who don't work in the realm of it, don't understand this term. So I'm so grateful that you kind of did a broad definition of it. One thing that this organization does is they helped teach me how to lobby. So I go to Congress and I lobby. And one thing that we tell these representatives office that we work with is we say, you know, post 9/11, the FBI was tasked with the job of preventing the next 9/11. So there was this mass hysteria over 20 years ago. And there was all this fear and talks about sleeper cells and your neighbor could be, you know, the next 9/11. And what happened was when the FBI couldn't find the terrorists among us, is they started to invent them. So what happened is a snowball effect of keeping that fear alive. And what we've seen in the past 20 years is politically motivated charges against people where they were either entrapped, where charges were completely manufactured against them, where leader heads of communities, people who were prominent figures, prominent charity organizations were basically taken out on these manufactured charges. And so out of that grows the term of anyone who has fallen into that snowball effect, grows the term Muslim political prisoner. Part of that as a family member is not just, it's not just another person who's been charged with, guilty or not, of a crime. Because these are political prisoners, we're dealing with extreme media attention. We're dealing with, like, on my brother's case, it says USA versus Nicholas Young. And let me tell you, it is the full power of the United States government against your family. And so with these politically motivated cases against Muslims, manufactured, that these cases aren't real. Most of them are entrapment or just, you know, phony charges to keep this fear alive, whether it's to support wars overseas, whether it's, you know, a number of things to keep the FBI's budget inflated, who knows. But so with that becomes a ton of media attention, the entire power of the federal government against your family. On top of that, because it is so extreme, it's using the word terrorism, you're completely ostracized from your community. People who are even your family or your friends, you know, cut ties with you, don't want to be associated with you, don't want to talk to you about it. And so this Muslim political prisoner is able to exist because of the fear that it instills in us and our loved ones and our families. And it is able to feed off the fact that people will remain silent around it, because the people who go to prison as a Muslim political prisoner are often forgot about, because people stop communicating with them, don't want to be associated with them. And it's able to continue because we allow it to, basically, these people become silenced because they're forgotten. So with me, my brother's case is actually quite unique. I'm not going to go into the details of it. I'm going to give you the elevator pitch of my brother's case. My brother was a police officer, which makes his case even, like, stranger and weird. Another thing that sets his case apart is the number of years that they pursued him to manufacture and entrap a crime against him. 6 years. So my brother converted to Islam in 2008, and it created problems for him at work. He was basically ostracized by a lot of his coworkers, other cops, because of his conversion. And eventually, not that long after he converted, he was reported to the FBI for being suspicious by one of his superior cops at work. Things that made him suspicious was that he wanted to wear a beard, which wasn't part of the uniform that he was supposed to wear. So he went to his superiors about that. Another thing was he started praying. Another thing that made him suspicious is that he went to travel to go to Hajj, to make Hajj. So these are simple things that are not suspicious at all, but put him on the FBI's radar. After that, he was the FBI did question my brother, and they asked him to become an FBI agent. When he said no 2 times, they asked him to be an FBI informant. They asked him to spy on his own community. They made offers to him. They said it would be a lot sexier than being a foot patrol at his current job. And when he declined these offers, it basically started a 6-year-long sting operation against him, using surveillance, using multiple jurisdictions of joint task terrorism forces, using informants going in and out of his life, using undercover FBI agent who was his friend for 2 years. They were trying to get him to do something, anything that would cross the line to being illegal. The last person who came into his life was a highly paid FBI informant. And he was my brother's friend for about 2 years, a friend in real life, who he knew in real life, not someone over the internet. And basically, my brother's case ended when he was arrested in August of 2016. His crime was sending Google Play gift cards to this FBI informant. We went to trial, and my brother was found guilty, and he's serving a 15-year sentence with 15 years supervised release. Supervised release is just another form of imprisonment. So total, in my book, my brother will give 30 years of his life to the federal government for sending Google Play gift cards for a crime that they created and groomed him to basically go along with.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Really, what your brother's story and your family's story tells me is that no one is safe. And so really everyone needs to get involved, because I think people tend to think if they stay away from working with CCF or supporting CCF, or if they stay away from these issues, then they'll be protected and safe. But really anyone and everyone can be a target at any given moment. So it's really important that we support each other. Can you speak a little more to, I guess, how it's impacted you and your family as well?
I mean, I think that anyone could probably guess that the impacts of your loved one going away for a prolonged amount of time for imprisonment is it destroys you. It destroys your family. I can't speak about how it's necessarily affected my brother. I don't want to put words on him, but for as far as my family, it's completely, it's just absolutely devastating. This was 5.5 years ago that he was arrested, and not a day goes by that even as you start to go back to normal life, normal activities, you don't have uninterrupted joy in your life when your loved one is constantly under a state of oppression for an extreme and prolonged period of time. So it is extremely isolating. The people who I see photos of myself from even a few days before my brother's arrest, and that person doesn't even look like me anymore. It completely changes you. It changes the way you interact with the world around you, the way you look at yourself in the mirror. It can changes your whole entire identity when your heart is breaking and going through the emotional ups and downs of the legal system.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm so sorry. Every time I hear it, it breaks my heart. Never gets normal, but and I hope it never does. But yeah. Ahmed Abdel Sattar, I want to turn to you now. You were just recently released. I know you've still been adjusting to life on the outside, and that's probably, it's very difficult to do and getting used to it. Can you speak a little bit, I guess, about yourself? Tell us what you want viewers to know about you, and then also just how it's been since your release, and then we can get into other questions later.
Okay, my name is Ahmed Abdel Sattar. I was incarcerated for 20 years, a victim of the war on terror, like hundreds of other Muslims. Muslims. Uh, my case actually developed a long, long time before 9/11. Uh, whatever happening in the Muslim community to the Muslim community today or after 9/11, it did not start with 9/11. It started way, way before that. It started, with everything that happening in on the other side, we become suspects. If the United States is involved somewhere in the world, in a Muslim land, and so all Muslims here become suspects. It started during the Gulf War. The surveillance program was going on. It started even before that, after the Iranian Revolution, and it escalated, and it was only, like surveillance, bothering people. What actually is talking about. Nicholas says, that the FBI went to him and they want to recruit him and they want. This happened to me. It happened to me in 1993. And I had an FBI agent telling me, either you do that or I'm going to make your life miserable. And he did. And I wind up, 9/11 came in and give law enforcement a chance, not to protect the American people, but to get rid of what they looked at as enemy of the state. So it started a long time ago, and it continued, and unfortunately, it's still going on. And whatever, I really, when I look at you, Nada and Ashley and other people, I say you guys are so courageous, because outside, now I am out there and I see how people are so scared. Not even, to you go to the masjid, and people who know who you are try to stay away from you. So, what you are doing, you are swimming against the current. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give you the blessing and the strength to continue what you are doing. Well, I'm not a very good speaker. I can answer questions if somebody wants to. I'm open, to any discussion, and here I am.
You're a great speaker, and I'm so happy that you're with us today. I know I still remember
Thank you.
receiving your email once you were released, and it made us all so happy. I forwarded it to the CCF team, and it really just warmed our heart to learn of your release, and then also to have you, with us before and after, both during your prison sentence and then alhamdulillah now after. I want you to kind of talk a little. I know Ramadan is coming up. How do you expect your first Ramadan back home to be with your family?
Well, alhamdulillah, I'm looking forward to actually Ramadan food. This is my first Ramadan. It's looking forward to pray Taraweeh in the masjid. Just to come to to the normal activities that a normal Muslim will do in Ramadan, that we were I was deprived of for 20 years, and many other Muslims so deprived of today.
Mhm.
So Ramadan, this is a very special Ramadan for me. Just sitting with my wife and my children and my grandchildren on the same table and eating our first iftar on that day. That will be I don't know how I'm going to handle that, really.
I
But
can only imagine. I mean, this is really the happiest, like seeing prisoners come home and united with their loved ones. I feel like the first Ramadan back is always something that's so like special and difficult, and just a moment of really high emotions. And
It
inshallah,
is.
many more
It is.
Ramadan.
It is, and especially when you are when you experience Ramadan on the other side, which
Yeah,
is a very difficult. I mean, Ramadan to us Muslims, it's a very special time, and when you are alone, or you cannot even practice what you usually do, practice during that month, it does affect you tremendously.
yeah.
So I'm here, but I'm still thinking about the people that I left behind, and they still cannot rejoice, cannot celebrate that month the way it should be celebrated.
And I want to hear a lot more, inshallah, about your experience, of practicing, observing Ramadan while in prison, and also your experience with the other brothers who are behind bars. But first, I just want to go quickly to Dr. Brown, and hear a little bit from him, I guess, and Zahra right after. What brought you into the work, and also, I guess, just as far as your involvement with CCF, how long has it been, and tell us, I guess, more about yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Thanks.
Sorry, there was this guy just going by walking his dog on like a hoverboard, which he was moving pretty fast. So I'm wondering, like, can you do that? Can you like walk your dog? He was going probably like 10 miles an hour anyway. Ashley, maybe you have opinions about this because Ashley works with animals. Yeah, so, well, first of all, like happy kind of soon to be Ramadan. I'm thank God every day that I have not had to suffer like the people in prison have suffered and the way their families have suffered. Like I'm in a lot of ways like if this were a movie, I would be like the white guy who's like the star of the movie. He comes in and like, everyone's suffering or something. And he's like, this is terrible. I don't know. So I got married to Layla, my wife Layla, who's the sister of Lena, who's in CCF. I think she's the head of it. I don't know what the technical term is, but
Executive director.
yeah, executive director. And so their dad was sort of like in the tail end of his experience. He was under house arrest in their apartment in Virginia when we got married, when I got married to Layla. And so that was in 2010. And I had no idea, like I didn't know anything about this experience, like anything about this universe of like the, war on terror, entrapment, how the justice system worked. I mean, when I go back and I think about like the conversations I would have with Layla's dad, it was like a different person, but not unlike Ashley. I was like a sort of just a typical, maybe like random white guy. I just like, if someone had told me like the government could, let's say, have a trial for somebody, put someone who's an expert witness on trial to like answer questions about this Arabic document, say, this Arabic document means ABC. Then when the defense gets up to cross-examine that witness, the government would say, we're revoking his expert witness status. So now he's not an expert witness, and so you can't ask him questions. I would have been like, that can't happen. That's never happened. And that stuff happened all the time. Like the stories I heard about the trial, I mean, this sort of stuff was just regular occurrence in the trial. And I was in shock. I couldn't believe this stuff was happening. It completely flipped my view of how the justice system worked. But I remember back then, 2010, like when I would go and give speeches about this or like talk at events, it was terrifying for me. I'd never done anything courageous. I'd never like taken any stances on anything. And the feeling of getting up and talking to people about like how the justice system is bad or like corrupt or treating people unfairly or not as it was like, it felt like I was gonna be arrested. It was like I felt like this icy feeling in my veins. And it's funny because, and for all of you out there who are watching and stuff, like, you really don't have an excuse not to support and CCF, right? Because now it's actually cool to talk about this. So after, Black Lives Matter and kind of maybe the popularization of the, social justice activism and stuff, now it's actually like, my students, for them to say, criticize the US government justice system is like totally cool. I mean, to go into a faculty meeting and say, we need to end the carceral system and carceral state, everyone's like, oh yeah, like that's awesome. You're really cool, So now the situation is so different. I think because Black Lives Matter really, changed a lot of people's perceptions. Like, even me, like if in 2010 you told me that in the US, like police officers just randomly shoot Black people for no reason, I would have been like, no, that's not true. Like they obviously they shoot them if they have to, but like they're not just going to shoot them for no reason. And then you say like 1 video, 2 video, 3 video, 4 video, 5 video, 6 video, 7. Then you're like, oh my God, they're shooting Black people for no reason. And once that, you accept the possibility of questioning kind of the orthodox narrative, suddenly it becomes possible to question everything, which is, a real blessing. So we're living in a time now where it's so much easier now to advocate on behalf of people who are kind of being targeted by the government or being processed by the justice system, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing is that, let's just say like that, some people will be like, oh, this guy really did commit a crime. Like, yeah, maybe his crime wasn't serious, but like, he shouldn't have done that. Like, he's guilty, so like, screw him or whatever. Then you ask yourself, wait a second, like, what kind of people are we that just because someone gets put in prison, like, let's say somebody committed a crime, let's say they stole something or they embezzled money or whatever, they made some stupid choice. Does that mean they're not human anymore? Does that mean that if you're their friend, you turn your back on them, that you pretend they don't exist? Or if they're your brother, you turn your back on them? I mean, Ashley's brother is really lucky because she's really devoted to him, mashallah. I mean, it's so inspiring. And a lot of families are devoted, but a lot of people also kind of get forgotten, and no one, just because you commit a crime or go to prison doesn't mean you're not a person anymore. And so we also really have to make a principled stance. And I always try to do this, and sometimes it pisses people off, but if someone gets in trouble or like gets canceled or something, like I really just, as a matter of principle, like I will not disassociate myself from that person, like as a matter of principle, because even if this person did something wrong, that doesn't mean that, like, the system works by making that person toxic, right? So, it's not just Muslims in this country or whichever group we're talking about, right? They're not just punished or cowed or oppressed by someone going and like picking, a member of that community out. And what are you guys doing? Some kind of weird performance behind me, but it's also about making them toxic for everybody else. And like, you can't let that happen. Like, as a matter of principle, you have to like retain your connections with those, and you have to visit people in prison. You have to write to people in prison. Like, this is really, and I didn't realize this until I talked to people who were in prison, like getting mail, even from some person you don't know, like some random person be like, hey, my name is, so-and-so. And like, today I, saw like this gopher on the side of the road. And I was like, wow, that's a big gopher. And, and then, I had coffee and I was like, this coffee sucks. And, and you write that in a letter and this person gets it. Like, that's something that just getting a letter is a big deal for people in prison. It's as Hatem Fariz once said, it's like winning the lottery, getting a letter. It's like winning the lottery. So I remember some of the things that, and I think on CCF website, if I'm not mistaken, there's a links to how to write to prisoners. You don't even have to know them. Just write to them and say, hey, my name is like so-and-so. And I just want, I think that, I want you to know that people know about you and you're not forgotten, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can just write and sit down and do that. I'm telling you, the things in my life that I'm really happy I did is to write letters to prisoners. And especially some prisoners like who die, they were old or something and they die a few years later. I really am happy I wrote those people. Like, it's like something that makes my heart really warm. I feel like I did a good deed. So that's the first thing is, and I always think about this Eric Clapton song, nobody knows you when you're down and out. It's just so, what kind of people are we? Are you the kind of person who just is friends with people when everything's going well in their life? Or are you the kind of person who's gonna, help people even when they're having a really bad time? And when everybody's trying to make everyone afraid of them, you really have to just to take a stand. And you know what? Guess what? It's your right as American to associate with these people. Like, there's no law that says you can't send letters to people in prison. There's nothing that says like you're a bad person or you're under suspicion if you do that. So don't be intimidated by the kind of aura that's created by this system. And then the last thing I'll say is, another thing that's really important, and people in the federal justice system especially, like, they don't get food after like 5:30, I think. And so until like 6 or 7 in the morning, they don't have access to food, except if they can get stuff from like the canteen. So they get that through like money in their account, right? So it's really important to send money to people in prison so they can get food. And you don't, that's like and CCF does that as well. And during Ramadan, CCF does a Ramadan like food like funding. It's sort of like feed the prisoners during Ramadan. I can't remember the actual name of the initiative, but I remember because CCF was actually founded in my basement. If I recall, it was founded in my basement because my wife's parents lived in our basement. It was a finished basement. It was a nice basement. It was a walkout basement. I want to be clear. This is not like they're in a hole or something. So, but I remember, this whole idea was, and I remember Layla's dad, like, getting the money and getting the money orders or whatever, like the way that they got paid, and like sending them to all the prisoners for Ramadan so that they could have their food for iftar in Ramadan and a suhoor in Ramadan. This is really important. And think about how important iftar is and suhoor to you if you're Muslim, like when you're not in prison. And then in prison, just multiply that by 1,000. It's just so, and to know that people out there care about you and are giving this to you. And by the way, another thing CCF does is it supports the families of prisoners, and just by like bringing them together in conferences, and just to be around people who are going through the same thing. You see these meetings, and you start crying like a baby. You see these people hugging each other and supporting each other, and yeah, it's just rough. It's really terrible to go through this. And these people, they need support, but instead what happens is everybody turns their back on them. And this happened, I don't condone it, but I definitely understand, like back in 2010, why everyone was kind of afraid. But now, you know what, people, it's so cool to be woke and to help all these people and to like talk about how the system's messed up. And you can actually do this stuff openly now. And then you can get social, you can go and impress your friends in wherever high school you are, or college, or wherever you can be like, wow, this guy's awesome. This girl's awesome that she does this. So you don't have any excuse now not to support this stuff. Go support it. I mean, I know I sound like one of those fundraisers and like NPR fundraisers or something, but like, go, because I'm telling you, you can use this to get street cred. I mean, I'm on the NCPCF, on the SCCF board. I'm the most useless board member, like without a doubt. They have an award for me. It's like, for many years, I've won the most useless board member. Okay. But you get huge, like not only do you get rewards from God for these good deeds, but now it's actually cool. So go and like give money and then tell your friends, and then you can feel good about yourself. Okay, I'm done.
So you don't support CCF because it's the right thing to do. Support it because you get.
Oh, it's a great thing where it's both. That's the best type of.
Well, I mean, if that's not motivation enough, then
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, if you're motivated,
it's also tax deductible. It's also tax deductible, so you can get. I mean, I took a huge deduction on my taxes this year for my CCF donations.
Nice. Thank you so much, Jack. I also just want to add your comment about writing to prisoners. 100%. I've even included some notes to discuss more about that later. But we do have a pen pal program at CCF where we can match you with a prisoner, and I will be providing some details on how to join. And really, really is a big deal, and it means a lot to them. And you know, like Jack was explaining, a lot of prisoners will not receive letter, like, you know, will be abandoned by not just their friends, but sometimes even their family. And you know, the lucky ones are the ones that can still have contact with some family members, but even then, communication usually dwindles. And you know, they even explain to us in their letters that they understand that life, you know, moves on and it moves fast, and so life on the outside is super quick, while on the inside it's more steady and still. But it's still like, you know, it's a big deal for us to stop and wait and remember the prisoners, and to take the time to write to them and communicate with them. I also want to add on the comment that you made about the food. Different prisons are, you know, operate differently, but yeah, there's some prisoners who will not have access to, you know, suhoor or iftar, depending on when the, you know, meals are given. Some prisons will adjust and make accommodations, not all will, but also a lot of the food that they're provided by the prison, or most of the food, is not nutritious. And so, mind you, in Ramadan, when you're fasting, you need a nutritious meal, nutritious suhoor or iftar, because you've been not eating. So a lot of times prisoners will want to buy something from the commissary because there's more nutritious things that they can select. I want to move on to Zahra. Hi, Zahra. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? I would just love to hear from you, and you know, how you got involved in CCF, and also your work at CARE. I know you're the executive director of CARE SF. So please, you have the floor.
Thanks so much, Neda, and really everyone that's spoken before me. I don't have a lot to add, and I want to be respectful of the space that's necessary to really hear from the most impacted people. What I can offer is that I first learned of CCF through Dr. Al-Aryan years ago, and I remember really just appreciating that as someone who had himself lived through the experience. The organizing by directly impacted people was so important. Most of us have never been inside any correctional facility, not housed there, and not even having visited. And it's unfathomable for us to imagine that someone would read our letters, someone would control our communications, that we would not have space to move around or eat what we want. I was just talking to my husband yesterday about grocery shopping for Ramadan. And it's so easy to forget that, like, my selection of yogurt and ice cream for suhoor, as not nutritious as that is a choice that I have the opportunity to make, and that my brothers and sisters on the inside don't. And so then when I learned about the Ramadan support campaign, it immediately spoke to me. Most of us will spend much of the month planning our meals. You know, who am I eating with? Where am I eating? South Asians will say, I don't want to eat too much fried food. How will I pray tarawih if I eat too much? Do I have time for suhoor? Do you wake up for suhoor? Which friends am I seeing? Which restaurant am I going to? And we'll easily spend $10, $20, $30, $50 a night on our own food. And CCF, for a fraction of what we spend on ourselves monthly, is supporting hundreds of prisoners. And so my first donation came without even really thinking. I was like, oh, okay, like, you need 100 at the time. I think now it's maybe a little bit more, 125 or so to support a prisoner. Okay, take it, right? And I can ask a few more friends to do it. The political prisoners in our country are not, in most cases, not there because they did anything wrong. They're there because that was the test Allah has selected for them. And so I think often about, one, my privilege as someone who gets to experience Ramadan fully with family and funds and freedom. And then I also think about what I need to do to pay sadaqah, to protect myself, to support those who've had a different fate. Their destiny is written. What I get to choose is how I'll be involved. And so that was how my first engagement with CCF's prison campaign came up. Last year, I remember I was talking to Lena, and she was at the time concerned. How will the money get raised? Will enough of it get raised? And I was honestly surprised by the outpouring of the community support on social media when she started to fundraise, when I helped fundraise. It's just, correct me if I'm wrong now, that it's just $125 per prisoner, right?
So
or is it a little bit more now?
No, it's still $100. If you do, we do want to start our sponsor a prisoner program so that someone, you know, could send more than the 100. And obviously, the more that you give, you know, the more prisoners we can support. But, you know, hopefully soon there will be an option where they can send consistent monthly support, or even if it's, you know, just for 1 month or a couple of months, but they can send a adjusted sum, whether it's less than 100 or more than 100, however much you can afford, to any of the CCF prisoners. So yeah, that's
That's
coming up.
amazing. So people could support long term. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just say, if I have any friends on the webinar, I know that most of my friends can afford $100 to $150 as a one-time donation. And so I hope people will make that first one-time donation while the longer term sponsorship program is built out. There's no reason for, if you're a donor listening in, there's no reason for you to delay in these last 2 days before we start Ramadan. This is such a great way to ensure that your Ramadan starts off on the right foot, right? A lot of us are like planning our schedules and like weaning off of our caffeine and making our iftar plans, but how are we planning for our charity? Making this one donation before Ramadan starts can help CCF ensure that for our brothers and sisters behind bars, that they have the best possible start to Ramadan that is manageable under the circumstances.
Yeah, and also if you do, you know, want to sponsor a prisoner now, like before the program is built out, or also we can use your, if you would like to give zakat through us, just write to us, email us. I've just included some information in the chat, but you can easily contact us and let us know, and we can make that happen prior to any like formal program being rolled out. So yeah, definitely the financial support means a lot. And I mean, sorry, Zahra, were you finished, or is there more you wanted to add before I continue? Thank you so much, Zahra. Your support means a lot, especially, you know, considering the scarcity of it sometimes. So being in prison is extremely expensive, and that's why this financial support means a lot. And you know, we said in the program that we'd be discussing the prison industrial complex, and that really has to do with big corporations and companies that profit off of you know, incarceration and these prisoners. So when you make a phone call, you don't have to think twice. Almost everyone, if not everyone, has an unlimited phone plan. You don't pay per phone call, you don't pay per text. That's not ever even heard of anymore, and like that's not something people do. Yet prisoners do that. You don't, like, how much do you pay for toothpaste? How much do you pay for? There's all these like little things that people you know, easily afford or don't even necessarily think twice about here on the outside, versus in prison, these are seen as luxuries. They're major expenses that the prisoner and the family members are forced to afford or can't afford, and the prisoner is just forced to endure and struggle. So I want to discuss a little, you know, about the, I guess, the financial burden, and this question is turned to Ahmed and Ashley. If you guys can just talk to, I guess, the financial side of this and how it's impacted you and your family. And Ahmed, if you can more specifically speak to the Ramadan gift, because I know you've been a recipient of it in the past, and how that's helped you in Ramadan, and how others would be helping the prisoners that they would be sending this money to right now.
Yes. The Ramadan gift. Let's start with this first. It's very, very important. You will not believe how important it is. It's not the money itself. It is just, you know, the gesture that, you know, you're telling someone who's been in prison that, you know, there is people out there think of him or her. This is, you know, how most people looked at it. You know, you will not, you cannot believe the joy that we used to feel when we get, you know, when I look in my commissary account and they tell me, you know, you received $100 from CCF. And, you know, you talk to other people and they have the same exact feeling. So this is, you know, on the part of, you know, yes, you know, we know somebody out there, you know, care about us as prisoners. We're not forgotten. The other aspect of it is, there is some people who's in prison that they get nothing the whole year except this $100 that you are sending to them. And as I believe Jack said, that yes, you need to buy food, you need to buy hygienic stuff, you need to, there is so many things, people think, yeah, they give you 3 meals, and they say yes, they give you the last meal at 5 o'clock at night, or sometimes at 4:30. So from 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning, you have nothing. If you don't have anything, in your you buy from the commissary, you got nothing. During the Ramadan, what they do is they give you your 3 meals that they give you through the day. They give it to you all at night. So burned, it cold. It is what it is, and eat it. Sometimes people you don't want to even look at it. This is the reality that Muslims live in prison during the month of Ramadan. So if you are able to donate, please do, as as your zakah, as your sadaqah, as whatever it is. We're not talking here about sponsoring someone for every month. If you can do that, that would be great. But at least for this month, help someone, make him feel that as the sister, I don't know her name, she was saying, you spend $30-$50 on things, you go to the supermarket, and you didn't even know where this money went. When you send it to somebody, you really made not only his day, you made his whole month.
Thank you so much, Ahmed.
You're welcome.
That's really what we hear. I know you mentioned about the food, and a lot of prisoners have described to me the different conditions, and some prisoners have even detailed like really disgusting and nasty things that COs and correctional officers and other, prison guards have said to them. Do you have I guess experiences that you want to share, like this, just how like the difficulty of practicing Ramadan and observing
Yes.
Ramadan?
Yes. Let's start with the meals. Okay, let's say Ramadan started. You're supposed to have your iftar at last year. We had like around 8 o'clock. So if you you are your iftar is 8 o'clock, you get your food sometimes at 9 o'clock, 9:30. So you fasting all day and you're getting your food late. So if you don't have anything, there is no food you can eat. So yes, and the food, the prejudice, with some people, what they do to you and what they do to your food. Sometimes you just want to throw it away. I'm gonna have to be excused for 1 minute, and I'll be right back.
No worries, no worries. Ashley, if you also want to touch up on the financial aspect, I know.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
still have been
anyone who's involved in this kind of situation, the financial toll is huge. Even any type of trying to fight the system includes financial problems, difficulties, selling homes, doing anything you can to raise enough money to help you continue your ongoing fight. And then of course the person who is in prison doesn't have the same earning power. So, and the commissary items are much more expensive in there than they would be a handful of nuts out here. So it's just, like I said, it's just this ongoing cycle of a circle. Go ahead, Ahmed. Is he back? Oh, I thought he came back. One thing that I remember is my brother's, when he was waiting pre-trial, he was in jail, and the whole time he was pre-trial, he was not allowed to pray with any other Muslims. So he had to like observe, his first Ramadan incarcerated completely alone. He was not to join any group prayer. He had to pray by himself. And these are things like what Ahmed was saying about the food. When you get the food, I remember a prisoner detailing to me, he wasn't given, he was kept away from water. So he didn't even have access to make wudu, to make, to purify himself with water before he makes his first prayer. And so there's little things like this that continually happen, whether you're pre-trial, whether you're post-trial, that are meant to really break your spirit in those conditions. And it's, what's amazing to me is that people like Ahmed and so many others that are able through all of this to not have their spirit broken. Yesterday, I got a text message from my friend Daniel, who's also a former political prisoner. And I think it's just a testament to the power of the human spirit, to the power of compassion and kindness. He said his very first day in prison, Ahmed, who's on our panel, gave him an envelope, a stamp, and a book. And this is someone who's in the most, the worst conditions, and they're still able to give to someone else. And I thought that was like, oh my gosh, this story's crazy, it's beautiful, and I can't believe that I'm gonna meet Ahmed.
Wow. Honestly, I say this all the time. If you're supporting, our prisoners, you're supporting some of the best people on the planet to exist. They're from the most kind-hearted and just well-intentioned. And yeah, that's an incredible story. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're really thinking of like a group of people that have been so marginalized, before and after and in prison. So even like in prison, like when you look at the Muslim prisoners, there's just there are rights that they don't have access to that people of other faiths and people of other domination will have access to. And then, something that we weren't really able to touch up on is the CMUs, communication management units, which is essentially like Muslim prisons in which all the prisoners there are mostly Muslim, and the conditions that they're under are just extremely extraneous and much more difficult than conditions in other prisons. I wanted to, I guess, quickly, just because I wanted to bring this into the conversation. We often have prisoners that send us art, poetry. I'm in regular communication with most of our prisoners. I want to show you guys a piece of art that was sent to me and read to you the letter of how she made it, or how she created this artwork. And we included it in this year's Ramadan card. So when we do send our $100 Ramadan gift to the prisoners, we also send them, which I actually just mailed them out today, Ramadan cards that they receive that's explaining, that this is a gift that, comes from the donation of our generous donors, which is you guys. We're wishing them Ramadan Mubarak and hoping that they, don't lose hope. So this is the artwork that her name is Ella. I'm just gonna keep it to her first name because she's pre-trial and I wanna make sure she doesn't face any trouble. Her trial is actually tomorrow, or she's facing sentencing tomorrow, sorry. And this is what she wrote to me. She said, I drew and colored these two pictures. There's also our Eid picture that she included for Ramadan and Eid, and I wanted them to be sent to the Muslim political prisoners when Ramadan and Eid come, inshallah. We don't have colored pencils or crayons in jail. We have to think of other ways to color. I colored these drawings, which I drew by hand because I don't trace, with powdered deodorant and cookie snack wrappers. The powder deodorant moves the color off the wrappers, and I use a sock to put the deodorant on parts of the paper. When I rub it onto the wrapper, the color comes off of the wrapper. You don't have to say who the drawings are credited to. I just want to bring a little bit of brightness to the Muslim prisoners and the families this coming Ramadan and Eid, inshallah. My court date has been delayed again until March 31st. So I'm still in Shelby County Jail. So sorry, yeah, it was her court date. Make dua for her. So that's tomorrow. And let me also show you guys the Eid card that she sent to us. My God. Let's see. Sorry. There we go. This is her Eid card. So the creativity and the just the way that these prisoners really go to lengths to create such beautiful things and send it to us, knowing how difficult it is for them to come across the resources and for them to also get the postage and the envelopes to send to us, because that all costs money. You know, I just think it's extremely amazing and inspiring. And I would hope that you guys feel inspired and feel compelled to donate and to support. And, you know, to discuss, I guess, other ways that you can support, if not financial. You can become a pen pal. That's a huge, huge means of support. And I guess I wanted to read some quotes to you from our prisoners that detail how important it is to become a pen pal or to be a pen pal, to write to the prisoners, because I think these really capture the meaning. So one prisoner told me, "I can't tell you how many times I tell people that correspondence in this place is in a sense more essential than agriculture." And that kind of just, that quote really struck me as of how important it is that we write to them. And then another prisoner says, "Every time you write a letter and that letter passes through all those barriers, walls, and bars, and it finally slips itself under a prisoner's door, it reminds him or her that they still exist, that they still matter, that they have occupied a place in someone else's mind beyond the walls and barbed wire. It reignites the dying light of hope, and it helps them go on for just a little longer." So I think these are just the ways that I wanted to bring our prisoners' voices into the conversation, you know, along with Ahmed Abdel Sattar's voice. And I mean, I guess I just want to open up the floor for any like closing remarks or thoughts or things that have come up for any of our panelists throughout this time. I know 1 hour is not a lot of time for us to touch up on everything that needs to be touched up on. So please, I guess, let our viewers know, you know, other ways that you can think of how they can support the prisoners or what they should take away from this webinar at the end. Yeah. Does anyone want to go first, or should I just select?
Yeah, I want to just touch on one thing here. Am I on mute?
No,
Can you hear
we
me?
can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As what, you know, the type of prisoners that CF supporting, political prisoners, most of them are either, the majority of the people are either in CMU or in ADX, which is very important to try to write to them. You know, just hello, how are you? Even a postcard. You know, you don't need to you know to say much. Just, you know, we remember you. We are in our prayer. As what Jack was saying, you know, that, you know, hey, you know, I saw such and such, or, you know, I bought some coffee and it was bad. Things like this. You know, people are yearning for, you know, this type of communication. And, you know, you will make a human being, another human being, so happy. Because there is, you know, let's face it, you know, after so many years in prison, people tend to forget, even family members, you know, that, you know, at the beginning, you know, the letters were coming and coming and coming. And then, you know, it became you know, a trickle. And then, you know, it stopped. So, if you could, during this month, consider it a sadaqah, that, you toward, a brother or a sister. Please do.
Yes, very much. And I mean, I think I also want to say that the biggest reason why I see pen pals, fall off or not continue communication with the prisoner that they were matched with is because they think that writing to a prisoner is this like really big task, or that they have to sit down and write like 2 or 3 pages. And I tell them like, no, if you do have time at any given moment and you have a lot to say, then that's amazing. But, consistency is more important than just like, giving them three pages that you wrote. So just writing them once a month consistently is so much better than receiving 1 3-page paper once every 6 months. So writing something as simple as like, yeah, hello, I'm thinking of you. I did this today, or like, telling them a funny joke, or just sharing something that you saw on the internet or something like that. They're completely cut off from the outside. There's a lot that they don't have access to. So like the information that we give them and send to them, that's sometimes the only information that they have access to. So it's really, really important that you just write to them and keeping it simple, especially, I understand we're busy, we have a lot going on. So the act of just sitting down for 5 or 10 minutes and writing a letter saying hello is a big deal, and it means a lot to them. Ashley, do you have anything you want to add?
Just to piggyback off of that, writing someone a letter is an act of resistance. It's a way that you can resist in a small way. And it means the world to someone else. Before I even met Jack, he had posted about my brother's trial. And I remember being alone in a courtroom, just filled with faces that were not familiar and not friendly. I turn around, I see this friendly face. And when there was a break, I go up to this guy and he says, I was a friend of your brother's. I saw Jonathan Brown's posting about your brother's trial, and he drove that morning from Philly to come to my brother's trial. Jack posting that was an act of resistance. That guy driving 2 hours to show a friendly face in the courtroom, that was an act of resistance. And I hope that we can all be renewed to our commitment and be inspired by each other by these small acts and continue to do this for each other.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Sahra, do you have any final remarks or things to leave with?
So acknowledging that my connection to this work started with fundraising, but that's what I'll say today, right? Is that the letters are so important, the prayers are important, the awareness is important. And for some people, honestly, the easiest thing that they can do, that like they can do without a second thought, is to write that check, to click on the link and make that donation. It is, I would say, for someone who can afford it, the bare minimum that we should do. And so I would challenge any listener, any viewer who can afford the $100. And I'm not even going to say, can you afford it comfortably? Can you afford it a little bit uncomfortably, right? Can you lean into a little bit of discomfort to provide comfort to our brothers and sisters? If you can do it, don't wait. I actually just while my colleagues were talking, I was like, okay, let me launch the Facebook fundraiser and bring in a little bit of money. And I've made my donation for this Ramadan, and I encourage others to do it too.
Thank you so much, Sahra. I'm also going to include what I wrote in the chat. I'm going to paste it back in the chat again for those that might have joined late. And I know because I know we're live on YouTube and Facebook as well. I'll be posting it there. But basically to donate, we've just launched our Facebook fundraiser today, right before this webinar. So just click on our Facebook page. You can find that fundraiser to donate. And to become a pen pal, just email me, which the email is going to be Nada, N-A-D-A, my first name, @civilfreedoms.org. And I will also be including that in the chat. Jack, any remarks?
Yeah, I mean, one, I'm really like moved at what Ashley said. I can't believe I actually like did something useful. That's great. Yeah, just go. I mean, I assume this thing is recorded, right? That we're
It
doing.
is, yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna go and send this to a bunch of people. So when they hear me say this, people donate money. You know, do you have any guts? It's not even that daring a thing to do. You know, if you have any guts, then give money. If not, then if you have money to give and you don't give it, then lasta birajul wa lasta bi imra. You're not a man, you're not a woman. You don't have
MashaAllah.
the guts to do this. That's what I'm gonna say. You don't give money, I'm not impressed. That's all I'll say. I don't know if that's too accusatory or something. That's probably not a good fundraising strategy, but I respond well to shame. So
we can use all the strategies we can get. At this point, we're just gonna try everything and see what sticks. Whatever works for you. We actually have a former prisoner who's watching, Sami Hassoun, who we got released on compassionate release. So CCF also works to actively free prisoners. And he wrote in the chat, as a former political prisoner, a simple letter sent to a prisoner gives immense joy and hope. And also, please donate. Some brothers really need it in there, and it will help a lot during this blessed month. Thank you so much, Sami, and we miss you. He's in Lebanon now, I believe. I hope you're doing well. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're 10 minutes over our time. It was truly an honor to host this panel with all of these amazing speakers. It will be recorded and it will be up on YouTube and Facebook to share. We might need to edit the beginning out because we were having technical difficulties. But thank you all so much for joining, and yeah, donate, email me to become a pen pal, and hopefully if there's any other questions, please feel free to also include those in an email to me. Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak, early Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak, everybody.
Ramadan Mubarak to everyone.